What is going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you guys are enjoying your awesome weekend. We're in a holiday season. Shout out to everybody who's coming out tonight to hang out with us. Shout out to chat already. I see you, Shon, Sue, Talos, Fuzz, everybody hanging out down the chat. Appreciate you guys. Once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. I know the time change messed a lot of people up, so I'm doing my best trying to make sure everything is uniform across the board. So just make sure you notify people the Shop Podcast is live. We got an amazing guest this week. Not a new guest, but always familiar faces. We love to have them here at the Shop Podcast. So shout out to you guys as well. But I do want to get to my fellas here as well too. But once again, shout out to all you guys, man. But let me go ahead and get to the guests. Let's go ahead and get to the guests. So shout out to you, Dirt Giggity, for joining us, man. Host of WBG Podcast. Let everybody know what that is if they don't know already.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me. Yo, man, WBG Xbox Podcast is it's a podcast on Monday evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And look, if you're a PlayStation fan, trust me, you probably would not like my podcast. I'm just being real. I'm just being honest with you guys. We have a lot of fun. We talk a lot of trash. I'm going to be honest. We if you don't like console war stuff, you probably won't like my podcast either. I'm just being real. We have a lot of fun. We try to be as entertaining as possible, and at the same time, we give our opinions on gaming topics. We love video games. We love Xbox. I actually like PlayStation, but not lately. They've been pissing me off lately, crying. But we'll get to that later. But anyway, but that's about it, man. So stop by, check out if you haven't already. So that's about it.
Appreciate you, man. Once again, shout out to you for joining us. If you guys don't know, all of that information is down in the description below. You guys know what we do. We show love to the guests who come on here and give us good content and hang out with us and have a good time with us and put on a good show. So please do me a favor. Do us here a favor at the Shop Podcast. Show our guests some love. Go follow him. Check out everything they're doing. And shout out to you, Giggity, for joining us. Once again,
Thanks.
One of the OGs. We got to keep it real. One of the OGs been doing this for a few years now, so there's plenty of content to go back and watch. So you guys run over there and do that. Shout out to you, Gady, for joining us. But let me go ahead and move on to my right-hand man here. Let's go ahead and start with you, Mr. Pong Soul, Pong Harvey. Shout out to my other brother, Still Rain. Living Split Screen was amazing once again this morning, but I guess you can get into that, Pong.
Oh, yeah. We had another great show. Great to be here, PTK. Awesome to have Dirt on tonight. And if anybody does not know, We Bleed Green was one of the first shows I did find in the community. It's an amazing show. Those guys have a lot of fun over there. Dirt is way too humble when it comes to what he does. And also catch him on TTS with Sean, because that is a great one too. Again,
fun over there.
yeah, you guys have fun. I'm not about the console war stuff, but you guys do it. You go against the circus. You go against the clowns. And that we got to have that balance, because there's way too many of them out there. And so the way you guys do it, I love it. And you guys are gamers. You guys are gamers that hard to play everything. That's what it's really about at the end of the day. So great to have Dirt on. Haven't been on a show with him for a little bit. So awesome to have you here. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Fuzzy PTK, great to have you brothers as well here. Yeah, we had a great show this morning on Living Split Screen. Go check that out. Went just short of 4 hours as usual. Actually, it was a little short for us, but we cut it. Yeah, great show this morning. Great week of gaming. Listen, this week has been amazing. Like, December normally doesn't have a whole lot of big game drops, but to get Need for Speed Unbound, to get Midnight Suns and Callisto Protocol all in the same week. Now, you all know Callisto Protocol I ain't going near. With a 10-foot pole, okay.
We've already established that. If you didn't know, Dirt, he's allergic to horror games.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I don't wear diapers while I play games. All right, that doesn't sound like fun. Okay, so no, we're not going near that. But everybody that's enjoying it, despite all the issues, it's that people have had, the criticisms out there. If you're enjoying it, congratulations again. Horror is way on the upswing. Need for Speed Unbound. I'm about probably 4 or 5. Somewhere in that hours into the 10-hour trial. I'm still undecided. I've talked about it on the other shows. Best Need for Speed we've seen in a long time. I do have some irritations with it. I won't, deep dive it or anything right now, but I do have some irritations with it, but it is the best Need for Speed we've had a long time. Shout out to Criterion for trying something different. One of my concerns actually became unfounded. The animation style that they put in it with all the effects while you're driving, I actually enjoy them and they don't bother me, which
Nice.
is
So
what
you
I was
came
afraid
around
of.
on it. I
I
remember
came
we had
around
that
on that. Yeah.
conversation, and you were a little shaky. I remember that.
Yeah, and I was all about the anime characters mixed with the realism. I thought that was cool, but those effects, I was really scared they were going to, be annoying while you're trying to race. Opposite effect actually adds to the game. I love them. So I'm enjoying that game. I'm going to play the full 10 hours on the trial before I decide whether or not I'm going to pick it up. But the game that has got me, I said it last night, I said it on this morning. You're looking at your new Marvel super fan right now. No, I'm not going to go all of a sudden watch all the movies, but everybody who knows that I'm not into Marvel anymore. I used to be a comic book guy. I'm not into Marvel anymore. They ruined my X-Men. But Midnight Suns, let me tell you, Firaxis came through. I'm so glad because I was on the hype train when they first showed it. Then I saw the card battle system. I was way off the hype train. I was wondering what Firaxis was doing here. Then they came back, started doing some dev diaries, started doing some dev playthroughs, got back on that train again and said, okay, I'm going to trust Firaxis as an old school XCOM player, as somebody who knows these guys are masters of strategy. I'm going to trust it. And the more they talked about it, the more they showed it, it really shined through. I picked it up day one, got the Legendary Edition, so I got all the costumes. And listen, for a non-Marvel fan, the story is better than I could have ever hoped for. I'm actually invested in the story, which is amazing. Is the game perfect? No. Is there little things here and there, animations that could have been better, lip syncing that could have been better? Some of the RPG elements are light, but they're there. Listen, all that, sure, you can say that. But Firaxis, when it comes to the battle systems, when it comes to what they did with the card battle system, this is simply an amazing game. It is as easy as you want it to be. Somebody casual, and I know why they did this, somebody casual can walk into this game, a Marvel fan who does not like strategy turn-based games, play on normal level and have a great time and never have to worry about the deep strategy. Somebody like myself who likes that deep strategy, listen, it kicked me up from normal to heroic 1. There's 8 different levels of difficulty, kicked me up to the next notch. I went from getting all 3 stars to still winning, but only getting 1 stars in each mission until I figure this out, until I get my cards powered up. So it is perfect for everybody and anybody in between. And I'm just having an absolute blast. I've already put in probably 8-10 hours already now into this game, having a great time with it. I think about it when I'm not playing it. It's one of those games. Anybody on the fence, anybody who was thinking about it, Mav's been streaming it. Go watch some of his streams. There's a lot of people that are going, well, maybe I will try this. It's great. It's great. If you're a Marvel fan, even more so for you. Characters are well done. Some of the acting, overall, I say it's good. Some people are annoyed with a couple of the character choices as far as the voice actors go. But again, if you like Marvel, you're going to find something to love here. And I think this is like one of maybe the only Marvel game that's ever been made where you can create your own Marvel character to join all the superheroes. And so that is something cool as well. You become the hunter, you get to customize the hunter and all that good stuff. Great game. Having a lot of fun with that PTK, but we got a lot to get into. So sorry to take over, but I had to get that out.
We gotta get the reviews up. You guys already know the reviews coming. But shout out to you, Pong. Glad you're enjoying the game. Remember, we talked about that game, and I remember you were on the fence. So shout out to Firaxis doing justice, doing what they do very well, and that's make those turn-based games. So shout out to them. And anybody enjoying that game, shout out to you guys as well too. But let's throw this over to you, Fuzz. I know you've been having a rough week. Oh, before I get into you, before I get into that, thanks for the $5 super chat, Jay Rembert. Shout out to you, man. He said my favorite Xbox guys on one podcast. Shout out to you, Jay. Appreciate the super chat, man. Once again, if you guys do want to support the show in that way, yeah, you guys can as well too. So thank you guys so much for that as well. If you do want to do that or join, be part of the gang, you get some cool stuff when you do join. And but I appreciate you guys. Let's throw this over to you though, Fuzz. I know you've been having a rough week, man, but let us know how you've been doing.
Well, outside of some game crashes, been doing pretty good. But as far as what I've been playing my usual stuff like Division 2, been playing Forza Horizon 5. With Insurgency Sandstorm coming to Gamepass, been playing that a bit more than I have been lately for a while. Been playing GT7 on my PlayStation, but being the race car fan that I am, even though it's an arcade racer, I decided to go ahead and pick up Need for Speed Unbound. Started off doing the 10-hour trial. Had a couple of crashes during the trial, but it wasn't like it was game breaking at the time. Didn't think it was, anything, that was going to continue, but, kept on playing. And I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying myself enough. And let me go ahead and buy it, and bought the Palace Edition, which I don't know why you gotta like actually buy the cars from the add-ons that they give you, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, still having fun with it. Taking my time with the story, trying not to get busted by the cops. And now the game is crashing almost pretty much after every race, or either during the race or right after the race. So it's like, this is great. So moved the location, did the uninstall, reinstall, and made sure it was on the internal hard drive as opposed to the expansion card. None of that seemed to fix the crashing situation. So I figured, well, let me reach out to EA. And for whatever reason, I signed up back in 2011. Got the whole deal where it was like there was some other game where there was an issue. They took care of it.
Yeah.
Hadn't been on there since. But I could go ahead and reply to posts or things like that. But to make a post about, hey, the game keeps crashing my system, yeah, it wouldn't allow the post to submit. Even when I didn't do attachments showing like either screenshots or like a quick clip that was like the game hanging or freezing, nope, no such luck. So I'm like, this is weird. So been reaching out to them, but come to find out after frustration, put the game down, went back to Insurgency Sandstorm, and now that one's doing the crash to shut down too. So I'm like, it's got to be the console now as opposed to the game. So I don't know.
Man.
I'm probably gonna have to get another Series X or because I hate trying to send stuff back and then it'd be like, oh, 2 weeks or to a month before you get. Nah, I'm not waiting. So I gotta figure out something between now and Monday, I guess. But other than that, been doing good. So I gotta, keep my head up and calmer heads prevail between now and tomorrow. Figure out what's wrong with my system. But other than that, doing good.
Well, shout out to you, man. Sorry about everything you're going through, chat, man. We make sure we throw them dubs up for Fuzz on the Xbox Series X, man. Hopefully he can get back on track here. Shout out to Ray, Mr. Joy in the Dark, ATL, Gogo, everybody hanging out in the chat, man. Hopefully we get Zink in here soon. We need those hot takes, but let's dive right in. We're actually going to skip the poll of the week. Shout out to everybody who just partook in the poll of the week. If you want to do that, every single Monday I put up the poll of the week. Follow me on Twitter. All the information is down below. Shout out to everybody who voted. We'll have another one this coming Monday, so look forward to that as well. But let's go ahead and just dive into the topics because we got some things that I specifically want to cover. And I guess I will start off this week with a banger. We got to talk about this, man, because I know when you threw it in chat, Pong, it excited me because every time I hear a little bit more about this, it ruffles my feathers, and obviously it's right up your alley. We're talking a little bit about this Todd Howard interview. I wanted to get in that right off the bat, man. I've been like chomping at the bits to talk on air about this and get you guys' opinion as well, chat, on this whole topic. So essentially, he did a interview with Lex on the Lex Friedman podcast. Shout out to Lex Friedman. I thought he did a solid job. There was some shaky points. Now, I'm not going to nitpick the interview, but I thought he did a solid job. But the real star of the show obviously was Mr. Todd Howard, who had a lot to say about a whole lot of things. Just namely a couple quick points here. Talked about the relationship between Bethesda and Xbox, kind of reinforced a lot of points that we all thought here. I think a lot of us on this podcast shared a lot of those same opinions about the relationship between the two, like in the past, where it is then and where it is now, as well as some more tidbits on Starfield. He was kind of picking Todd's brain a lot about the whole process in creating Starfield and, the whole thought behind it. So we'll get into that. And we'll start with our guest here, Dirt. One, did you see that? Did you get a chance to listen to the podcast or watch it? And two, what do you think about some of the things Todd highlighted?
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch the entire interview, but I saw some of the highlights. And you know what? Anytime Todd Howard does an interview, you get excited. You can see the passion that he has for game development, for his IPs, and you can tell that Starfield means a lot to him. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but apparently Starfield doesn't count as an Xbox exclusive. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard,
Oh
Dirt.
my goodness.
And none of us know what it's going to be, so we can't even be
You
excited
done lit
about
the
it.
damn
So.
fuse already, Dirt. You've been
I'm
here
sorry.
5 minutes
I'm
and you
sorry.
lit the fuse.
I apologize.
Now you good, brother. You good.
No, so no, I'm just talking a little trash. You know how I
Now
do.
you good, bro. You good.
No, so so what he said, like some of the things that he said got me excited. He was saying how focusing on one platform can make the game better, and I love to hear things like that, and also love to hear that they want the game. Now, this is just my opinion. He didn't necessarily say this, but I believe they want this game to be as polished as it can be. Because we've known the past with ZeniMax games, but there's the games we've always, they're good games and people love them, but those games usually come out very buggy. And I think being under Microsoft now, I believe Phil Spencer really wants quality games, and to see they've got the extra time to polish up the game, I absolutely love it, man. And I'm happy that Bethesda is is under Microsoft, and it seems like Todd Howard is happy about that also. Like I said, I didn't see the whole interview,
Yeah.
but I thought it was like the things I saw was pretty good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I do wholeheartedly agree. Once again, the highlight here is anytime we get anything from Todd, especially something like a sit-down interview where somebody
Mhm.
like actually knows how to interview him, sits down and is able to get him comfortable enough to like answer some actual questions. That's always good. So I
Right.
love to see him in this setting. We don't get to see it that often, especially during the game making process. He's pretty like locked in a cave and making whatever game he's making. So when he does decide to come out and get some fresh air, always nice to get a good interview. I want to highlight something else too before we move on. I want to throw this kind of boomerang this back to you, Dirt. The relationship between Xbox and Bethesda. I
Mhm.
want to highlight that because he emphasized that point. Not that he needed to,
Right.
not that he needed to, Chad. I think we all understand he didn't necessarily need to do that, but the fact that he went once again reiterated and he made a lot of great points about their previous games being essentially exclusive, having a lot
Right.
of exclusive content, the relationship, Xbox literally being in the same building, helping them make those games, helping them
Yeah.
go through testing and doing all the R&D and everything. They literally brought a lot of that material to Xbox before it got to us. So seeing that relationship, him emphasizing that, what is this once again? What do you think this means for the game? Obviously, what do you think this means for people that were on the fence?
Well, like I mentioned, I do believe this game is going to be quality, man. Having the extra time to polish the game is always a plus, And at the end of the day, I love that he mentioned their previous relationship, their strong relationship. Obviously they're under Xbox officially now, and the timing was perfect because the previous day or two, we've heard people say that those games don't count. Xbox deserves no credit. So I love how he just happened to come out a couple days later and say, "Yo, we had a relationship with them in the past. We made previous exclusives for the Xbox brand. Xbox has sent some of their engineers or developers to us to help us out on certain things. Starfield is an Xbox exclusive." The guy asked him. He said it is an Xbox exclusive. I don't know why he still asked that question when everybody knew the answer to the question already, but I love that. He's Xbox exclusive. It's the Xbox IP now. So yeah, Ty Howard is awesome, man, and I can't wait to see what Starfield is going to be. I really can.
Absolutely, 100%. And I want to obviously we gonna let Pong sit on this. We're gonna save Pong for last because I already know Pong been busting at the seams. I'm sure he's talked about it a couple times already. But,
oh yeah. But we'll be at outros by the time I'm done. So let's just go.
Maybe I should have let you go first. Maybe that was a bad decision. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you first before we get it over to Pong, man. Once again, did you see the interview? If not the whole thing, did you get to see just kind of the main points that they went throughout as far as the relationship with Xbox, the tidbits about Starfield? Obviously, I always love hearing about his just gaming roots. He started in PC gaming. He's always kind of been a PC gamer at heart, all that kind of stuff. So what did you just think of the overall interview?
Well, only got to see parts of it, but I much like Dirt, I like a lot of the stuff he had to say as far as the relationship with Xbox. It sounds kind of organic, doesn't it? No, but no, on a serious note though, but there's a lot of things that he that I guess the interviewer was able to extract out of him as far as for things relating to Starfield. And I've always been, excited for this game, sci-fi fan. It's one of those things. I can't wait for this game to release, which, fingers crossed, we're hoping like a May or sooner release date. But yeah, him talking about I guess the creative process as far as making the games and things along those lines, and all the interactions with the Xbox, team and stuff like that was awesome to hear. And it gets, even more excitement or a little bit more hype as far as for, anticipating this game for early next year or some point next year. So I think the big things as far as kind of like what Dirt was saying, where people were saying, oh, Xbox doesn't get credit, or this isn't an Xbox game, and how he addressed it. And it's like, I think the simple answer is, unless you can play this on another platform like a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch or something, it's going to be an Xbox game. There's no doubt about it. But I think the big thing now is, I hope they get back to doing like those little snippets where they were giving like kind of like the roundtable talks about the game itself,
those
or
are so
showing a little bit more
awesome, man.
things. But this interview was nicely timed, and a nice, I guess you could say change of pace or so, because Xbox as a whole has been kind of quiet because of all this back and forth on this ABK deal. But yeah, it was great to see. Can't wait to see more as far as either behind the scenes stuff as far as for Starfield. But yeah, I can't wait for this game. And that interview was a nice little touch to kind of drive the message home that it's going to be an exclusive, and stop asking kind of thing, without necessarily saying or having to say stop asking. But yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome. Once again, shout out to Lex Friedman too. Did a fantastic job, phenomenal job with the interview. Felt real organic. Todd looked comfortable. He didn't look pressed to answer any of the questions, so that's always a good sign. And to be honest, and shout out to Mav. Just we got the FSP love in the chat. I saw Caitlin as well. Spooky. Shout out to all the FSP love in the chat. But another thing too, it's just to see Todd's thought process. It's always good to get a peek behind the curtain, right? Like, we don't get that too often, and to be honest, we don't know when we're getting Bethesda information. Like, we get the short end of the stick. We don't get really much warning when we get like Starfield stuff, right? I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but usually it's kind of like out of the blue. They'll like tweet something, or they'll say, hey, another episode of I don't remember the name of that series that they had where they did the little small things about the different aspects of the game. But let me throw this over to you, Pong. I know you're chomping at the bits to get into this, bro. I know you have already a couple of times, man, but I got to get your opinion on just the interview itself, the information that was given in the interview, just how you felt coming out of that.
2 hours and 45 minutes. That's how long this interview was. How many times have we ever seen Todd, in the midst of massive game development, sit down with somebody for 2 hours and 45 minutes? This was by far the best interview Todd has ever given before. Shout out to Lex. Again, if you guys have not watched it, I'm 2.5 times through it already. There is so much information here. This is such a fascinating interview, because it's not just about specific games. It's about, like you were talking about, PTK, the thought process behind it, his beginnings in the gaming. I mean, again, how many people knew that Todd was actually a finance major and was going into business? And the only reason why he went into gaming is because he was doing it as a hobby for fun on the side. But he applied. He was at one of the last, he made one of the finals during the interviews for some big corporation and was going into finance, and they turned him down, and he made the decision, okay, I'm going to do gaming. And then it happened to be that Bethesda was on his drive from school back home again. So he always passed Bethesda, and then he looked them up and saw that they made sports games back then and RPGs. And who else knew that Todd is a huge sports game guy? That he still plays Madden to this day. He plays Madden every year, and he had dreams of doing actually the best sports game out there. That was his original plans. He wanted to create sports. Incredible. Lex, you don't have to enjoy Lex's style. I personally do. You got to understand, the dude's an MIT guy. He's dry. He's low key. He doesn't bring the energy. But you want to know what? He's thoughtful. and he's insightful. And he was asking appropriate questions to get Todd to kind of delve a little bit further. And he'd even add his own, which some people don't think interviewers should do, but he'd add his own anecdotes to the conversation, which would get Todd to even go a little bit further. This was fantastic. The only thing he didn't do was draw the release date out of him, right? That's the only thing he didn't get done in this interview. So I highly recommend anybody interested in the big picture of development. You get the whole layout of how Bethesda makes a game from start to finish. Todd lays it all out in this interview. It's fantastic. I love this stuff. I love knowing what geniuses, how they think, no matter what field they're in. It's not just about gaming. It's about any kind of geniuses out there, any type of, people who have set a new high, whatever they're in. And I think this was a great one for that. But let's get down to business, specifically with Starfield and Xbox. Yeah, Todd definitely did speak directly on Xbox relationship, went through that whole thing, talked about how even as much as they had worked together in the past, he said, when you do a deal like this, you still don't know for sure. And he goes, it has been absolutely amazing. And he goes, the philosophy inside and out of Microsoft is what you see it is from the top to the bottom. He said, what they, tell everybody out here is exactly what they talk about internally as far as treating, the gamers first, all that kind of stuff. So that was absolutely incredible to hear. Awesome to hear his excitement that the Xbox engineers were specifically helping them on Starfield to get every last drop of power out of the series consoles. Man. And you could see the excitement in his face. Like, he was like, first of all, he praised PlayStation 5, said nothing against PlayStation 5, amazing machine. And then he goes on to talk about these Xbox engineers coming in, and he goes, to me, it's just great. They're showing us how to do this stuff inside, right? Get every last drop of power out of this. So that was awesome to hear, and it makes a lot more sense as to why, Todd talked about the delay, talked about how hard it was, but it was the right decision to do, said that they were, confident in the 11/11/22 date, but as they got closer, they had to be realistic and look at it and say, what do we need to get done? How far along are we? Yeah. And we just weren't there. So it was the tough decision to make, but we had to do it. And I think that's partly because a lot of people are worried this game's going to come out at 30 frames. I think those Xbox engineers are showing Todd how to get 60 frames out of this thing. So I think those are the little things that they're probably implementing, maybe some FSR, some of the new kind of tools that have come about. They're going to get those ready to rock and roll for Starfield. I think a lot of that is at play here. Plus, they probably did have some mechanics that they wanted to implement that they weren't going to be done with. So, the delay happened. I'm still sad about it every single day. I should be coming on this show every single week talking about new experiences in Starfield right now. What I've discovered, and I'm not doing that right now.
Delayed gratification.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. Thank God I got like Midnight Suns and Modern Warfare.
Exactly.
But it's still not the same. Anyways, so that was all fantastic. But he went in depth. He gave us nuggets about Starfield that we had not heard before, which was shocking to me. They're still doing that Q&A. He talked about that. They're queuing up another one of those Q&As that they did with questions from the community. So we're going to get that as well. But Lex got him to talk about some stuff. So number one, the AI. This was interesting. They're talking about the future of AI in their games, and specifically the NPC level AI that they run, the scripting that they run in the background for their games. And he talked about how unique it was to Bethesda games because they're one of the few devs, if not one of the only devs, that actually, when you're not in an area, continues to run scripting for the NPCs as if they're still doing something, even if you're not interacting or close enough by to have any kind of influence on those NPCs.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That was really interesting, PTK. But then he talked about what they're looking at down the road, making that even more, right? That's what he was talking about. He's talking about giving the NPCs, specific NPCs, like the guilds, right? He brought up the guilds, easy one that everybody knows. If you're in Fallout, you got factions. If you're in Elder Scrolls, you got guilds, right? Easy to know what we're talking about here because Bethesda titles always have them. And he said, what are their purpose in the world? And he goes, we're thinking about what would the Mages Guild be doing if you're not around? Like right now, they're just sitting there basically waiting for you to show up so we can give you quests, right? He went into that whole thing. He's like, they're basically quest givers right now. And you already know the beginning and the end of that. Like you're going to start out with quests. You're going to go do this stuff. You're going to eventually work your way up and you're eventually going to take over the guild as the head of the guild, right? That's what you do in their games. He said, but we want to take it further in the future of what is going to happen if you're not there. What would the mages guild's goals be within the game? Like what would they be out doing? And so he started talking about that. We know that devs don't just simply think about that stuff and then just one day, one game randomly decide, hey, we're going to throw this in there. They iterate on that stuff. They try new versions of that, building up to what their overall vision is. I believe we're going to see some of that new AI in Starfield. And he hinted at it when he talked about the freighters in other systems, when he talked about traveling to other systems. And, you know, a little tidbit there too was, guess what? The systems themselves and the planets have levels to them. So you can wind up in a place that you're not going to have a fun time in these other systems. So as much as he talked about how the worlds are, you know, procedurally generated and all this kind of stuff, and there's going to be just, you know, they're mostly going to be resources. If you've got levels on the systems and you got levels on the planets, chances are there's probably still some baddies around somewhere that are going to do you wrong if you land on a high level, right? So that was interesting. But when he said, when you travel to a different system, you can come across freighters, right? Freighters transporting goods between systems. And those freighters might actually radio you. And you don't know what that contact is going to be. So I think we're going to start seeing that with the pirates, you know, with some of the guilds or factions that they have within Starfield. I think we're going to start seeing them testing out this new AI that they're thinking about and seeing how far they can push it right now. So I think that's going to be exciting because that's going to create a whole new level of randomness that's already on top of one of the best sandbox RPGs out there, an RPG that really relies on the randomness in a lot of ways to create the special experience, the unique experience that every single person who plays one of their games has. Again, we all could on this panel could play Starfield for the exact same amount of hours and have totally different stories to tell. Completely crazy, different stories, man. Right? That's
just thinking insane. About that is insane, dude.
It is. And they're one of the only, again, that's why I love Bethesda. There's nobody else. I mean, there's others that try to do it. There's nobody that does it to their level. CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk was starting to get to that point. There's some of that in there, but Bethesda's been doing this for decades now. And they've been building upon everything that they learn on each game up to this point. And Todd went in depth in this interview about that as well, talking about how now, at this point, now that they have all these generational type games, you know, and Dirt said that they make good games, but they're buggy. They make generational type games that are still played for 10 years later, despite the bugs. That kind of tells you where where they're at. But what they said is now that they've learned that people like to put hundreds, thousands of hours into their games, that their games are, you know, being played a decade later. That's a part of building this game from scratch. They're thinking about that. So what does that mean to me? That means that everything that we've seen previous to this, whether it's the building in Fallout 4, whether it's the, you know, all the kind of moment to moment experiences that you have in a Skyrim out in the wild, all of that stuff, they're ramping it up even more, knowing full well that if they do this right, and of course the hope is a million things can go wrong. It could come out, it could flop. It might not be the generational game that some of us believe it's going to be. But to them, Todd said, we hope it's that game. That means they're already thinking that far ahead, saying, what are the players going to be doing 10 years from now in this game? What are the possibilities we can grant them? And that goes back to their main philosophy, which is one of the biggest ones about Bethesda titles, which is how we want to be able to say yes to the player as much as possible. So when a player asks, can I do this? We want to say yes as much as possible. That is something that is just stellar. I absolutely love when Todd talks about that. And he went in depth on that as well. He also confirmed little stuff like You're going to need special spacesuits. You're going to have to upgrade your spacesuits for different planets. There's going to be toxicity. There's going to be radiation. There's going to be weather effects on certain planets. All of that is going to be there as well. And, you know, all I got to say is that my hype level, I'm probably in the top 1% of hype for Starfield.
Already,
I probably already am. I know where I'm at with this. Like, I didn't think I could get any more. But after Todd spoke about this, and again, Todd shoots for the moon. His team shoots for the moon. People are critical of him they call him lying because he overpromises and underdelivers sometimes. It happened. The videos are out there. You can go watch them all. But I want this person out here. I want this type of director, video game developer pushing the limits, because when they don't even hit what they thought they were going to be able to do, it's still where they wind up at is still so much further ahead than what anybody else has done in the past. So my hype, I think Starfield is actually going to wind up being more than what we've imagined so far, what we've talked about on these shows time and time again. I think actually when Starfield comes out, this is going to be the game that once again puts Bethesda back on top. Not that they ever left, but people forget because it's so few and far between. Again, Skyrim is the last game we got from this team. Fallout 76 is not this team. Once again, for all the people out there who just want to say, well, their last game was Fallout 76, they're on the decline. No, they're not. Their last game was Skyrim. It's a generational game still being played, celebrated today. Starfield is going to be that next one. It is my firm belief. And I think that Todd, as surprised as he is, and you saw some of that humbleness when Lex kind of, has told him that that Skyrim was the greatest game of all time to him, and Todd was kind of taken aback and kind of was blown away by that statement. That Starfield is now going to be that next one. No, it's not going to be for everyone. No, it's probably not going to sell 150 million copies like GTA. It's never going to be that. But the people who do enjoy these games, the people who have been looking for this type of sci-fi game like Fuzzy, like Jasper, like myself, that wanted, we think Mass Effect is one of the greatest games of all time, but we want to take Mass Effect and put it on a whole new scope and a whole new scale. That's exactly what Starfield's going to do here for that genre. And overall, Western RPGs are going to be better off for what they put into Starfield at the end of the day. And again, you can call it this hyperbolic. You can say you're crazy, whatever the case may be. I don't care. If there's one team that's going to do that, it's going to be Todd's team. And he even said it himself. This is the first time they've had to be a system seller. He put it in those terms in this interview. And he was nervous about it. He's like, that adds the pressure. This is the first time we are going to have to be a system seller. Now, we know system selling isn't what it used to be. We know how much Microsoft is doing all this other stuff, Gamepass, cloud. But in the grand scheme of things, it still counts. And in the grand scheme of things, Starfield is now a Microsoft and Xbox first-party title. It is a first-party IP exclusive. And it is going to be one of the new pillar franchises that Xbox now owns that can stand next to your Halo, Gears, and Forza. And that's what they're expecting out of this. And that's why Todd's shooting for the moon here. And that's exactly why it's going to happen when they finally decide to release this thing. Can't wait. My hype is beyond right now.
This game is going to be insane. And I don't even know how to follow up because you said everything. And shout out to you, Pong, for breaking that down beautifully. Chat, let us know how you feel about this. Did you see the interview? What do you guys think about the interview? Some key points. Maybe we missed a couple things, but yeah, it was amazing. I do agree, Pong, just to see Todd's thought process and how serious he's taking this. And he looked like he appreciated the extra time. He didn't look pressed about like them delaying the game. No. He really looked like that he appreciated they had the additional time to get some things done in the game. You could tell his shoulders kind of sunk a little bit, like, oh man, thank God that we had a little extra time, because I do think this game can be generational. It should be looked at in that way, especially coming from the team that it's coming from. You kind of highlighted that with the last game this specific team of Bethesda's worked on was Skyrim, not Fallout 76. And shout out to that game because it's a lot better than it used to be as well. They've done a lot of great things with Fallout 76, but I do think this game could come along and really set the trend for the generation going forward. It's going to be a fuck ton of pressure and a fuck ton of scrutiny and people fine-tooth combing the game. But
we're going to see every bug on Twitter, even if it's the most polished Bethesda title ever. We're going to see every bug from the clown show. right? The
Oh,
circus
dude.
is going to bring it out. So whatever. I don't even care about that, but just know what's happening.
I just hope the game comes out and blows everybody's socks off, and they get just what more than what they expected, or more than what they thought this game could be. Because there's still some people out there who thinks this is almost some type of experiment for Bethesda. This is not an experiment, baby.
No.
I'm sorry. This is
They're
not.
done.
This is 25 years in the making.
They do little experiments now, like I was talking about with the AI and stuff, but the main formula is set. They know exactly what they're doing from start to finish.
Absolutely. And then having this relationship now with Microsoft just strengthens, and once again, they strengthen each other. This fills a lot of those gaps in. Now we can focus. Remember that word, because he talked about that. He highlighted that like 20 times in the actual interview, that's a key thing for his team. He likes when they're able to sit down and just focus. Them being a part of Microsoft, being able to focus on Xbox and PC, allows the game to be the best that it could possibly be. And he highlighted that a bunch of times. So I just love these interviews. We don't get them often. When we do get them there, Jim, we've never gotten one this long and this in depth. So this is a real treat. Go make sure. I wish somebody would actually link it in chat. If somebody could find it, throw it in chat, link that link in there, because go watch it. It's a gem. You'll find a lot of great stuff there too. So that was a great warm-up topic chat. Shout out to all you guys watching live. Appreciate all you. I see you, Xavier. Bacon got in here. There was some other people. Shout out to everybody watching too live. Everybody watching in the future. You guys are awesome. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Pong. You're going to lead us into another topic, brother.
All right. Well, guess what? We're going to stick with the Todd Outer interview, because actually he did get into something else interesting, and I wanted to get everybody's thoughts on this. So we're going to be in a little speculation town. I'm going to need everybody to put their second grade imagination hats on and get ready to start thinking big here. But Todd also, Lex got him to actually talk about Indiana Jones from Machine Games as well in this interview, which I thought was ridiculously cool. Lex just casually brought it up and walked right into it, and Todd had a lot to say, actually. I mean, he didn't give away anything gigantic, but he had a lot to say. He went through the whole process yet again of how he first approached Lucas and got, and then the deal was all but done, but Lucas wanted to publish the game, and of course Bethesda, being a publisher, wanted to publish it, so it all fell apart last minute. So he put that back in the freezer and let it cool off, and then came back to it when Lucas got back with Disney, or when Disney bought Lucas, and they started doing more licensing with their IPs for games. He brought it back, made the phone call, got the deal done, and here we are. And he talked about how his team was obviously wrapped up in Starfield development, so he wasn't going to pull anybody off of that to work on Indiana Jones. And he actually said that was a good thing, because once Machine Games got their hands on it, it was the perfect fit for this game. Now, obviously, we know Machine Games, famous for Wolfenstein, as Boxenberger says. I'm going to say it appropriately in case
Shout out to Box.
Shout out to the Box and Bear. Listen, so we know that is a first-person game, but he was super excited. You could see his face lit up, and he said, no, they're the perfect fit for this game. They're doing excellent work over there. All of this. But what I thought was interesting was Lex actually approached the subject. He said, is this going to be an action adventure game then? And Todd started in one direction. Let me bring it back. He started with, let me bring it back to, and then he stopped himself, and he goes, and he kind of got a smirk on his face, and he goes, you know what? It's a mix of everything. It's a mix of a lot of different things. But what I can say is any fans of the Indiana Jones franchise are going to be extremely happy with this. So that was very, very dodgy, but also, listen, if you're not going to...
Political.
Very political, but very intriguing, because if it was just going to be your typical action adventure game, I don't think in that moment Todd would have hid that. Like, I don't think that would have been, that would have been something. He would have just been like, yeah, it's an action adventure game. That would have been nothing. It didn't really tell us anything. But the way he said, no, it's going to be a mix of a lot of different things. And fans of the original are going to be very happy with it. That says something to me. Now, I got a couple questions for everybody. And obviously, we'll start with our guest, Dirt. You've been quite a long time listening to me nonstop talk here. So, Dirt, first of all, where are you at with Indiana Jones? Are you an old school Indiana Jones fan? Were you a fan of the movies? Are you,
Huge.
huge? Oh, perfect,
Huge
man.
fan.
Okay.
Love Indiana Jones
All right.
movies.
Awesome. So you're looking forward to this, which a lot
Mhm.
of us, the older folks, are as well, who grew up with Indiana Jones. For you, when you hear something like that, number one, again, I want to put you on your imagination hat. What is
Okay.
Todd talking about here? If Indiana Jones isn't a straight, let's say, Tomb Raider, Nathan Drake-esque, Uncharted type game, if it's not just a straight one of those type games, but it's a mixture of everything, give me some ideas of what you think that could look like. And number two, the most important question, or the one that's on everybody's mind, or actually, I'll make this a 3-part question. Number two, third person, first person, or a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, exclusive or not, and why. Go ahead, Dirk.
Okay. The first question. What was the first question again?
First question is, with him saying that it's a mixture of a lot of different things, what would you envision that meaning? What do you think that could mean?
I'm envisioning that means like a mixture. Like maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe some car combat, not car combat like a Twisted Metal or something. Maybe like the movies. There's 2 cars kind of going at it while people are trying to shoot somebody off of a roof of a vehicle. Maybe
Sure.
Indiana Jones, like how the movies are there.
Yep, high
you
action
know.
scenes, big set pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Maybe there is a mixture of third person and first person. Maybe the third person comes in where he's climbing on some mountains or some things like that, and maybe first person comes in where this is more of a gun battle. I don't know. We are speculating at this point, obviously, but
yeah.
I think it's good, man. Now, as far as the question about his exclusivity,
yes.
Initially, when it was first announced, I believe it was announced January 2021, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was announced.
Yeah,
early.
It was right
around
on
that
Phil's
time.
birthday, whatever Phil's birthday is, because I remember Todd was
was-
happy to do it for Phil's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when the announcement came down.
Or
At least of the deal.
It was 2020. I do remember it was 20 early 2021.
Yes, it was last year. Yep.
Initially, I was like, oh, it's definitely going to be multi-plat. But after time is going on, we're hearing things from different people. I believe someone told me Jez said something about it's possibly that it could be exclusive to Xbox PC. I'm not sure if he's really said that, but somebody told me that they heard him say that. I didn't hear it for myself. We heard that maybe Special Nick said this is going to be exclusive, and we know Disney, they will do exclusives now. Maybe in the past they wouldn't do it when it was like those games were LucasArts, but I think it might be exclusive, man. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I obviously could be wrong.
Well, yeah.
I'm hoping it's exclusive because me, I want to talk some trash. But I'm going to say it will be exclusive. I just believe they signed a deal, and it is what it is at this point. So
Okay. Awesome. So we're leaning towards exclusivity, and that's funny because I was in the same boat as you, Dirt. I haven't completely flipped over yet to exclusive, but I definitely was strongly when they first announced it, saying, "Nah, this is going to be multi-plat, no problem." Right. It'll come to Game Pass, obviously, so whatever, it doesn't matter. But now, as time has gone on, and especially after this ABK stuff, like. Again, Phil's not the petty type of person, but there's other people within Microsoft who probably are itching to do a little something. I think it's potential that they could hold this as an exclusive. Phil has always wanted that Tomb Raider, that Uncharted that he's never had for Xbox. Exactly. He tried it with the Tomb Raider exclusivity. We know how that went. Exactly. So he's done it in the past, and I know he doesn't like licensed IP exclusivity. In the grand scheme of things, I don't care because I know it's coming to Game Pass. But I think now he could be leaning that way to, have that adventure game, that big name IP that, kind of, gives people the feeling of exploration, like a Lara Croft, like a Nathan Drake.
Right.
There's nothing bigger than Indiana Jones. He's he's the grandfather, right? There is no Lara, there's no Nathan Drake without Indy coming first in the
Facts.
movie. So I think he might hold this one as a personal kind of flavor of ice cream that he wants on Xbox. So yeah, I'm kind of moving your way. Not quite flip, but I'm closer. Percentages are closer. PTK. All right, sir. So same to you. You hear all this stuff. You hear, again, it wasn't a straightforward answer. Like, this could have been an easy close and check it. Yeah, it's an action adventure game. Everybody been like, oh, that's what we thought. Of course, Indiana Jones is going to be action adventure. But Todd didn't do that. He gives us the sly smirk and says it's a mixture of things, but that the original fans are going to be happy with it. So, number one, put your tinfoil hat on, put your imagination
That's
hat
already on.
yeah, get that baby rocking and rolling, get it juiced up. Let us know what you think that could mean, maybe even what you would love to see in an Indiana Jones game from Machine Games. And then number two, do you believe that it is a first person, third person, or a mixture? And number three, exclusive or not, and why?
Man, so great question. We've talked about this a few times. This come up every now and then here at the Shop Podcast. So couple things, right? So I don't know, or at least I didn't know what I wanted out of a Indiana Jones game. Like, I didn't know what I want. I didn't know what that would look like, right? Now, with this little bit of tidbit of information from Todd, it does add a little bit of perspective, maybe some insight, because we know Todd's not a regular dude, right? Like, he's not just going to go make some copy and paste game. He's not going to be like, okay, this is just some plain Jane, here's some plain Jane mechanics. If it's up to him, and like you said, if this was him reaching out to get this deal, like he reached out, made the phone calls, he was lead on this deal, this is not going to be a regular Indiana Jones game.
No. This is another dream game that he had for a long time. Exactly.
Like you said, he reached out, the deal was all but done, fell apart at the last
second.
2009,
I think it was.
Exactly, had to put it on ice. You probably wait damn near a decade to get this deal actually done. Put it on ice, pull it back out the freezer when the time is right, when Lucas sold to Disney, when they got all that IP from Star Wars, all that stuff. But either way, it's been super, super interesting to see. I definitely want to see, more. Now, as far as the game being first or third person, that was the thing that always got me. That was the thing that always got me. Now, Machine, they make first person shooters. Wolfenstein has always been first person. But would an Indiana Jones game be good first person? I don't know, right? Like, I mean, you always think, Uncharted. You always have your Tomb Raiders. Those kind of you kind of get those vibes. So third person will be good. Could they do both? Right? Like, maybe it's situational. Maybe the game in some points is played in third person, then in some points you switch to first person. That could be, that happens, right? Like, some games are able to utilize that.
And let me add this tidbit in here while you're talking about it, PTK. Also, to go along with this, we got word this week. Shout out to Andy Robinson over at VGC. Great dude. Brings a lot of great information. So go follow him on Twitter if you don't already. He was the first to break that the old Chronicles of Riddick and the Darkness director Jens Anderson, for anybody old enough to remember those games, two of my favorite classic 360 classic games, right?
Love those games.
Butcher Bay,
the Darkness. Man. Oh man, so good. He has joined Machine Games to lead design on Indiana Jones.
So, I mean, if we're
both
talking
of those
about
games are first person too, though.
First person as well. See, that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but once again, this may not be a typical Indiana Jones game. You can throw all those typical isotropes out the window when it comes to Todd. He's not a regular dude. He doesn't want a regular experience. He wants something that's going to be unique, before anything else. He doesn't want this to feel like it. Although there's going to be some nostalgia, he still wants to capture that, because let's not get it twisted. It is a Disney IP. They do want to have it as close to the canon as possible. But ultimately, I think, is the game going to be exclusive? I've kind of gone back and forth about that as well. It didn't feel like it would be, because we all assumed that this was like pre-ZeniMax, right? Pre-Microsoft going to ZeniMax and saying, hey, we want to put some money down and get you, doing that deal. So I would assume that this maybe was multi-plat. Am I leaning more towards now it being exclusive? There are some signs that this could be exclusive. Maybe that changed once the ZeniMax deal happened. Maybe Phil had a discussion and say, hey, you know what? We'd like this to kind of be ours too. I know you guys maybe had plans, But it wasn't even when they announced it. There was no platform announced. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's been no platform announced at all. So there should be no. I mean, the odds that it's exclusive are the same odds that it's not. So just for that sake alone, I'm leaning more towards that it is now, because once again, there was no idea that it was multi-plat to begin with anyway, even though we know this deal was done probably prior to Xbox or Microsoft getting ZeniMax. So if we go by that, just logic and tea leaves, then it might be exclusive now.
Okay. All right. Good answers. Love the thoughts on this. Fuzzy, you are last up. You got to hear Dirt. Got to hear PTK. Again, I just added the Jens Anderson tidbit too, coming on as obviously lead design. And again, his history is what Dirt said it was, both first-person games, The Darkness and Chronicles of Riddick. For you listening to this, number one, what do you picture this Indiana Jones game looking like, or what are your wants for an Indiana Jones game? Number two, do you think that it will be, or actually, no, I had to go, that's number three. Number three is exclusive or not, and why? And number two, first person, third person, or a mixture of both. Go ahead.
All right. So what I take from Todd's, a mixture of things is that it's going to be not your typical linear. It's going to be somewhat open, but you're going to have a distinct path. You're going to have your set pieces. You're going to have different stages where you're either kind of like what Dirt was saying, you're riding in a car, shooting people off of rooftops or jumping from car to car kind of thing.
Yep.
You're also going to have it where you're pretty much running from either a boulder or something along those lines type of moments. Now, for me personally, I would love for it to be in third person. I'm kind of used to the Uncharted's and Tomb Raider as far as being in that perspective, but I could see a few moments, especially like if it's a recreation of you running from the boulder in the tomb or something like that. I could see it being in first person and it being like one of those set piece moments. So a mixture of both is fine. I hope they give us the option, but if they're going to direct us a certain way and they switch between it based on the situation, I'm fine with that. I'm game for both, but the preference would be third if possible. Now, as far as exclusivity, this is the tough one because we know how Phil, nice guy Phil, he generally likes to have it where anybody will be able to play the game wherever they want to play it, blah 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 type of thing. And since it's not geared to be an Xbox IP, it's a licensed IP, I could see the wiggle room for it being multi-plat. But why reward bad behavior? If Phil has learned anything over these past couple of weeks, it's that Sony is going to kick and scream no matter what you do with ABK. You could act like their friend or try to be their friend and give them that 10-year deal, and they're still going to spit in your face. So you know what? F them. I'd say make it exclusive. It's like go back to your original saying. It's only available where Game Pass is playable. Period. And leave it at that.
I mean, it is what it is, Fuzz. I feel you on that.
So I hope it winds up that way. I mean, personally, as long as it's in Game Pass, I don't care. I mean, the fact that I know it's going to be on Xbox and whether it's in game, well, it's going to be in Game Pass, but I'm more than likely wind up buying it, being a fan of Indiana Jones growing up. So, but yeah, it would be nice. Keep it exclusive. I mean, things like Spider-Man are exclusive. Was it Knights of the Old Republic is exclusive, or at least a 1-year time thing or something. Yeah. But that's on the back burner now, or whatever the case may be. Pretty sure Wolverine's exclusive as well. So yeah, screw them.
That's right.
Exclusive.
Well, I got a question.
I love it, Fuzzy.
I know, right? We need that smoke. That energy is what we live for, man. But I got a question. But I know. I don't want to hijack your topic here, Pong. But I got a question. I even want to ask you as well, too, Pong. Are we? What timeline you think you guys think the game is going to be? Is it going to coincide with the movie that's coming out at all? Is it gonna?
Nah.
Is it gonna? It's some completely separate timeline, or what we talking about here? Young indie, old indie?
I think it's 2025.
No, I mean, I'm not talking when the game comes out. I mean, like the
Oh.
timeline in the game. Like, are we getting young Indiana Jones, old Indiana Jones?
Will it be Harrison Ford? That's a good question.
That's another thing too. Will it be Harrison Ford?
Right. Go ahead, Dirk. What do you think?
I mean, where you guys at?
I think it will be Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really do think that.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
Yeah, because we don't want the Avengers kind of fiasco again. Just a bunch of people. Like who the hell is that? No, but I think it will be Harrison Ford. I don't know if he'll do the voice acting, but I do think it will be his likeness. I think it will just be him, not an old Indiana Jones. I think it would be him like from the movies in the 80s, that age, that time period. So I think it will be an original story. It will have nothing to do with the movie that comes out next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
just
right.
my opinion, of course.
All right. Go ahead, Pong. Fuzz. Yeah.
I think that. Well, I mean, Dirt threw out 2025, so I know we're not doing that, but I'll say 2024 on this. I think they get it out in 2024. I think Machine Games have been working on it pretty heavy. But I think that time frame wise, I think we're going back. Todd, during this interview too, how this kind of got brought up as well was, Lex had asked some questions about Indiana Jones, but Todd said that Raiders of the Lost Ark is still the greatest movie ever made to him. And he still watches it, and it still holds up to this day. So I think he's going back to that prime time. Now, again, with Indiana Jones, it doesn't have to follow movies. There's a million different adventures that Indiana Jones could have had during his prime, right? There literally could have been traveling. We know he was traveling all over the world. We got to see, a few of the adventures through the movies, but we know that he was getting artifacts from all over the world, obviously. So you can put him anywhere, but I think it is that time frame. As far as the Harrison Ford thing goes, I'm on the fence on this one. Obviously, with the love that Todd has of the original movies and how he stated that the original, the fans of the original IP are going to be happy, then I would lean that this is going to be a Harrison Ford lookalike. My problem is, what do you do with Harrison's voice? Because Harrison is not getting any younger, folks.
No.
If you think this is going to be an IP that you do more of down the road, you got to think ahead, right? We've got the same problem with Sam Fisher and Michael Ironside, right? That's the same problem that Splinter Cell has. Michael Ironside is sick. Michael Ironside isn't doing so well. I mean, this next Splinter Cell, eventually you have to think about that stuff. Now, do you do it out the gates, or do you just do that down the road and cross that bridge when it happens? Well, I guess we'll have to find out. But I would lean that Harrison Ford, and I would lean his prime form, the love that Todd showed for Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's what I'm thinking too, right there, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Fuzz.
I'm thinking middle age, or like prime Harrison Ford. Get his voice now. If they have to do for future, titles, let's just say, I think they go electronic partially, or somebody that's going to sound pretty close to him. I think there's enough of his voice recordings from the movies that they could probably use a good bit of that, or update and enhance that to some extent. And they'll probably get enough, stuff from him prior to having to even worry about using the AI stuff to kind of, mix stuff in. So I think still use Harrison Ford at his prime. As far as if it follows the movie, won't follow the new movie, but some kind of like what Pong was saying, sometime after Raiders of the Lost Ark, with all the stories in between type of thing, I think they'll have at least a trilogy that they could build out of it. If this, hits what they're shooting for as far as, numbers and so forth, or engagement. But that's all I got.
Good thoughts. I'll just end it with my quick thoughts on my questions. By the way, I think that my envision for this game would be a mixture of action adventure mixed in with role playing, RPG mechanics. I think that because Indiana Jones is not just about the action all the time. Indiana Jones is about the interactions with the other characters, the character development, with all the stories in between, having to sneak on, having to disguise himself to, get onto the blimp, with the Nazis and all that kind of stuff. All of those moments are perfect for a bigger game that includes the ability to have this kind of narrative, which is the strong point of Indiana Jones. Let's be real here. Sure, the action is great, but the comedy and the actual story behind the artifacts and what's going on with all of that, that's big to Indiana Jones. So it's got to be a complete type game. And I think that we are going to see a mix of third person and a first person. I think in the tight tomb kind of areas, or those tighter, maybe the fighting sequences, we could get that Wolfenstein type first person, which is what Machine Games is known for. I think we could have that in those moments. Now, how will it feel with the whip? That's the biggest question. But I think if there's a team that can pull it off, it's Machine Games. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Jens Anderson did something very creative in the darkness with those demons that you had over your shoulder, and you could use those demons in first person as well to go seek out people and stuff. So again, I'm not so worried about mechanically, but it is going to be interesting. But I think third person, for kind of the narrative and kind of the RPG sections, I think you're going to have decisions to make. I think those decisions are going to have impact, much like we see in Bethesda titles. I think that there's going to be branching paths that you can take to, get to the end goal, whatever that is at that moment, and ultimately whatever artifact you're chasing, whatever the case may be. So I think they're going to have branching narratives, and I think that you're going to be able to kind of choose your own adventure with Indy in this game. That's at least what I want to see. And like I said, I already kind of answered the exclusivity. I'm closer to exclusive than I was before, but I'm still not quite flipped yet. But definitely going to be fun once they get to announce this game and kind of show it off to us. I think it is important, if they are making this the Harrison Ford Indy, that they do have the sections that are third person for sure, because that's a big part. Seeing Indiana Jones is a big part of it. His look, the hat, the whip, the jacket, that's all a big part of Indy. So you got to be able to see that at some point. That's why I think that the narrative sections might be third person. So we'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be fun no matter what. I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, that was a phenomenal topic. Shout out to piggybacking on top of that topic, man. But shout out to everybody watching too. And Mr. Inferno, Tim A, Raid, everybody just hanging out in the chat. All you guys, appreciate you guys. Hit the like button if you have not already. So we're going to throw this over to Fuzz, get into this next topic.
Well, I'm going to probably go a little messy here, but why does Callisto Protocol run better on the PS5? Maybe because of all the bonus PlayStation devs, article.
You hear Dirt sitting up in his chair on this one. I don't know if you guys heard the chair. It creaked as he sat up.
Absolutely.
This is an article from VG 24/7 about like how the devs over at Callisto Protocol, basically to get this thing over the finish line, got some help from the people that they had the marketing rights deal with. PlayStation was able to send some devs over to kind of get this thing to completion, and some of the results are noticeable as far as like things like reflections, some of the pace, not the pacing, but the timing or like the stutters and things like that. Although on PC, I guess they did a hot fix that kind of eliminated a lot of the stutters on PC, but there's still some slight performance issues on Xbox in comparison to PlayStation, and then it seems to be mainly because of the added help. With all of that being said, the game, from what I've seen, and I don't have it just yet, looks phenomenal as far as for like just the environment and things like that. But it's running through the ringer as far as some of the reviews. It's not quite scoring quite as well as people had hoped, because it seems like it's more just focused on killing alien zombie like prisoners, as opposed to having a lot more story arcs and things like that. So with all of that being said, whenever you have like a marketing deal, do you think it's within the developers, I won't say rights, but do you think it's a good idea for the developers to that aren't a first party developer to focus, even if they have a marketing right with a platform, to focus on just that particular target first, or put a priority on it for performance? Or is it one of those things where this is kind of like a bad example of, not delaying the game and just kind of brute forcing it through your advertiser? I'll start with you, Dirt. Do you think the dev kind of effed up on this, or is this something that would be considered acceptable for like marketing deal games and things like that with devs?
Oh, you might be muted, Dirt.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm talking my ass off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my bad. No, it's definitely not acceptable. Listen, man, listen. We understand PlayStation has the marketing rights for Callisto Protocol. It's a beautiful game. I have it. I've been playing it. So far, it's okay to me. The thing is, this is what I honestly think. I do feel that PlayStation, if they have the marketing, didn't we see something before about parity? If they have the marketing on the game, they do not want the game to
Yes,
run
sir.
better.
Mhm.
So okay, we've known that. This is my personal opinion. I could be wrong, obviously, but this is just my opinion. I feel that Callisto Protocol wanted to release before Dead Space remake. In doing that,
100%.
they sacrifice this game. This game should have been in the oven a couple more months, guys. They were focused on releasing this game before Dead Space remake, and that's how I feel.
So EA played the Uno reverse card. So EA did that just to put the pressure on these devs putting out Callisto Protocol. Because I felt like it was the other way around, Dirt.
I don't know, bro. I just think, listen, this game release, it just wasn't ready. I don't think they would gimp the Xbox version this bad. Like, it's too obvious at this point. Listen, we know PlayStation fanboys are going, yeah, where's that power? Shut up. Xbox has been dominating these videos all year long, right? Yep. Now, a couple of games is running better on PlayStation, so you're going to ignore the rest of the year, right? Oh, yeah, whatever. So I just feel that the Xbox versions will be fixed soon. Even like guys that have 4090s was having issues. Like, no, I just think they really just wasn't finished with the game. Now, at the same time, I do wholeheartedly believe PlayStation does have those parity clauses in those contracts with games they're marketing. I wholeheartedly believe that. Just let's pay close attention to future games they market. What's the next one? The
Hogwarts?
Yeah. That let's pay close attention to that game. Mm-hmm. All right. So at the end of the day, I just think they needed some more time, because for the Xbox version not to have reflections at all, bro.
Yeah.
At all. Come on, man. So obviously PlayStation was the lead console on this. They developed for the PlayStation, and they say, let's put the Xbox version out and fix it later. That's just how I feel. But I do also feel, like I said several times already, that PlayStation does have those clauses in their contracts. Parity clauses, I should say. So that's just how I feel.
Awesome. Great points on that. And yeah, I think some of that parity clause stuff got exposed in some of these back and forth APK deal discussions. So yeah, there's definitely something that they put into their marketing rights deals, that even though it eventually it's going to not work in their favor on this one, but I think they tried to pull a fast one with them sending their devs to kind of help these guys out to get it over the finish line. But Pong, what are your thoughts as far as I know at one point you were kind of looking forward to this game, yet I know you weren't going to play it. You were kind of like, I want to see how it plays out and whatnot. But considering the reviews and the feedback and some of the performance stuff, what is your take as far as when it comes to a marketing deal, if that's an acceptable excuse or reason for the dev to kind of do a lopsided release like this?
Yeah, listen, we had a big talk about this morning, because this goes to even a bigger, conversation again about broken games and about in 2022 what's acceptable anymore. and if it's okay for a dev to launch a game that they know is not complete or is broken in some way. And so it's a bigger topic as far as Sony goes, sending 150 devs. Listen, that's their prerogative. Xbox has sent help to third-party devs before too to help out. So this isn't abnormal, but now what I will say is abnormal is 150 devs. That's more devs than work on
That's
some
a
AAA
whole
games.
studio. Yeah,
Yes,
like I said the same thing. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's AAA games not getting that kind of help, right? So that's crazy. What kind of shape was this game was in prior to those 150 devs showing up? Because I can guarantee you those 150 devs didn't just work on the Sony only stuff. That they weren't just working on the DualSense controller stuff, right? That's not what they were doing. They were helping with this entire game. Now, did they happen to forget to put the reflections in for the Xbox version? Well, maybe they did do that on the side. But whatever the case may be, these devs were helping them. So what kind of shape was this in? And remember, folks, just a month ago, Glenn Schofield got absolutely destroyed online because he came out talking about how proud of his team he was for putting the crunch in. And of course, we all know you can't say that word nowadays. Yeah. Even though us old guys are like, whatever, overtime, okay. But anyways, he got blasted for that. Well, you don't think they're not crunching right now to fix this? Of course they are. Those patches are coming out fast and furious right now on this game because guess what? I believe, like Dirt just said, that they decided to beat Dead Space Remake out the door. So they forced this game. This game should have been delayed into 2023. It needed more time in the oven, even with the help from Sony. The reviewers, it's not just about the performance. And let's be real, most of the complaints are on the quality side.
Yeah.
The
quality and controls. I hear a lot too.
Yes, the controls, the combat is what a lot of problem people have with this game. So there was a lot more to get done. This game had all the hype in the world. This was a slam dunk. Like how they showed it off, everybody that was looking forward to this genre, this type of game, was extremely excited. Obviously coming from the former devs who created Dead Space, right? So they had everything going for them at this point. All you had to do was close the deal. You didn't close the deal. And it's a shame that you sacrificed both the PC side and the Xbox side. Even if you were getting them fixed fast, as Steele pointed out, first impressions are everything. Right. There's a lot of forgiveness in this community, but you can't take back those reviews. You can't take back that 75 score that's sitting out there that was an easy slam dunk 85 plus. Easy with the hype behind it, right? That's the sad part about this, because this is their first major IP from a new studio led by a bunch of experienced developers, and they fumbled at the finish line. We've seen this before. We'll see it again. But right here is a perfect example of why nowadays you just come out, you bite the bullet, you put the delay letter up on Twitter, the accursed delay letter.
They all got the template, right?
Yeah, they all got the template, right? You just put that up there and you just move forward, but you make sure your game is done right. Again, now in PTK, your post, your tweet about the EA, and Woody dancing, now that they saw the reviews, like that was perfect, because that's exactly what happened. They popped the champagne, they cut the cigars, lit them up, and said, boys, get back to work. We got a winner in Dead Space Remake if you guys finish this the way we know you can, because everybody's hyped about Dead Space now, and they were before, but even more so now, because now people are going to play Dead Space Remake. And if they've got it as good as that's looking right now, as much work as they put into that remake, that's a real remake, folks. Again, EA is doing another Mass Effect here where they are actually taking their time and doing this right. And everybody's going to play that Dead Space remake and say, see, this is what we wanted. This is the gunplay we wanted. This is the combat we wanted. This is what you guys should have had over at Callisto Protocol. And all of a sudden, Callisto Protocol is put on the back burner yet again, and Dead Space is the new hotness, and EA is going, guess what? Dead Space 2 remake coming next year. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
Speaking facts. Hey, can I say something? Can I say something right quick? Pong is speaking facts. Them dropping this game, like in this state, is going to hurt it. more than help it.
Mhm.
Even listen, man, I'm going to say right now, they should have just delayed the game because we've seen games delayed in the past. When those games came out quality, everybody forgot about the initial delay.
Mhm.
If those games come out fixed, great, high Metacritic scores, they're great games, nobody's going to care about the delay. Redfall and Starfield, I guarantee you, both of those games come out dropping high 80s and people love the games. Nobody's going to care about how Xbox had no AAA games in 2022. Nobody's going to care how Redfall and Starfield was delayed. If those games come out polished and great games,
Yep.
who cares? Listen, that's why they delayed the game. So you're absolutely right about that, Pong. So they should have delayed the game. Now, like you said, Still Rain said earlier today, first impression is everything. First impression was shit.
Yep.
It just was.
For a lot of people. For some it wasn't, but for a lot of people it was, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It had as you call them, the clown show. It had the clown show saying PlayStation is going to, this is going to be a PlayStation game. It might as well be exclusive. They changed their tune to, PlayStation helped with the graphics and the mocap.
It became garlic real quick for them, didn't it? Oh, real quick. They backed away from it.
Oh, show. I like that.
I couldn't help it, Chad. I couldn't help but laugh on that one.
Yeah, but just to end my thought, just real quick, I think that I like Glenn Schofield. And obviously I think that team does, even from the outside looking in, I've been watching people play the game and stream it and stuff because it is a very cool setting. I wish I could play horror games. I just not going to do it. Yeah. But I wish I could because I love the darkness and I love, all the factors that go into it. They had something special here. And it could still be special. I'm not going to say that they're not going to fix it. It could still wind up being a game that people look back on and go, hey, after the patches, once we got to 2023, things, it was a really good game. But overall, I think Glenn Schofield and his team showed a lack of confidence in their ability here. They should have just bit the bullet, done the delay, and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and let Dead Space go first because we know when we finish this game, it's going to still be better than Dead Space. And Dead Space may wow a lot of people with the remake, but then they're going to play our game and go, man, we wish Dead Space would have done this, right? We wish Dead Space would have been here. Like, this is what we wanted. This is the, update to Dead Space from way back when on the 360. This really is the next iteration of that type of game. By the original team members. And I believe they could have probably put it back in the oven and scored higher than maybe even what Dead Space Remake comes out as. I would have gone into it with confidence and said, we'll let you go first, show your cards, and we'll come right behind you. And we're gonna have a royal flush on our hands, and we're gonna shut that down. And then everybody would have had that first impression of Callisto Protocol, and people would have started demanding that Callisto Protocol gets that second game versus Dead Space 2 being remade right away, which we know EA is gonna do if it hits. So,
yeah. Yep. Good points on that.
Yep.
So PTK, what are your thoughts with the whole situation with PlayStation kind of? They didn't really money hat this one, but they definitely sent out their fixer-upper team to kind of get this thing over the finish line. What are your thoughts as far as, is that acceptable these days? And what is the repercussions? I know you had your famous post with Woody doing the dance and stuff, but what do you think of the repercussions of this whole deal?
Well, first and foremost, the whole Sony thing, like Pong said, and I'm glad you highlighted this, Pong, because it's not unusual, right? Like, that's a lot of fucking devs, though. Like, I'm not gonna lie, 150, that's a whole studio. Yeah. They sent the Sucker Punch over there. That's Sucker Punch. Like that. They sent the whole studio. I mean, essentially, right?
150? That's a lot.
That's a whole dev team. Like, that's a lot of devs. So first and foremost, just to get that out of the way, it's not that big of a deal. The act of them actually helping out. They do have the marketing lead. Obviously, Sony has a vested interest in this game. You don't send 150 devs if this game isn't like kind of important to you. So it's kind of odd that the game would come out in this weird state where reviews are all over the place, considering Sony's hand in the game, how much they've actually put into the game. But I'll get to that. I'll circle back around to that. But ultimately, it is unfortunate because I do think EA played a Uno reverse card. Because remember, it was strange that Callisto Protocol, when they first announced it, EA was right on their ass, like, hey, we're doing Dead Space 2. Like not even a week later, we had an EA post like, hey, by the way, we're redoing Dead Space. So it's kind of funny, and I don't know if that maybe put the pressure on Schofield. Maybe they were like, damn, we didn't know EA, was going to do that. We didn't know they were actually, maybe EA was already thinking about making a Dead Space. And this kind of, lit the fire under EA. Maybe they got caught a little off guard. And that's why they maybe pushed for this game to come out a little sooner than it should have. And then Sony had to send over those additional devs. It feels like it because a game, and I don't ultimately care about reviews. I haven't played this game yet, but based on the large variance in reviews, I hear a lot of people say the game is pretty looking, but the actual game mechanics are pretty tough, as well as there's some performance issues on PC and definitely on Xbox, especially seeing the parity between the two consoles, which once again doesn't make any sense. Like this whole idea that we'll patch it later is ridiculous. Now I understand things happen. I'm not a developer, so I don't know the amount of work that goes into these games, but I am a consumer. So I should have an idea, and my dollars speak, all of our dollars speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. So I think this idea that we'll just patch it later is a bit ridiculous. This game didn't need to come out right now. Like, I don't think about it.
I agree.
Pong Fuzz, if they said, we're going to delay this till May or, I don't know, April.
Yep.
I don't
It'll
know
be fine.
I think it would have been fine.
Yep. Yeah.
I think there would have been some people in chat, once again, let me know how you guys feel about this. I think there would have been some people that said, oh, that sucks. But ultimately, I do not think this would have been a huge hit to the game, ultimately, as far as like, sales and just eyeballs. Now, maybe had they, depending on where they put it next year, that would have been kind of tricky because we know 2023 is jam-packed. So they would have had to be a bit strategic as to where they put it to make sure it's not next to something like a Redfall or a Starfield or some shit like that. But they put it in a nice, comfy spot, maybe in April or some month that's not too busy. It would have done just fine. Now, once again, here comes EA with that fucking red cape on. They finna fly in and say, look at this game that we made. And they're, because I'm be honest, that the footage that they've shown from that Dead Space remake, it looks good. It looks amazing. That is a true remake. And I know some people like to parse the remakes and they like to parse the words, but that is a true remake. They're rebuilding that thing from the ground up, and it looks amazing. And Pong, you said this. We live in a society, and sometimes I don't know if devs understand, we're forgiving as hell. Like, I get it feels like gamers are just, we're always in the streets with our pitchforks, but ultimately we just talk a lot of shit. We like to talk. Like, we talk and we'll threaten and say we're not going to do this, but we'll sit our ass down and get right back in the game. And
shortest memories out of any human beings is right here in this community.
Exactly.
Oh.
That was like my point was I was saying that.
Yep. Exactly. Dirt. You said it too. Like you said, with Starfield Redfall, we're going to forget all about it when they drop. Everybody's going to forget about, besides the circus, everyone's going to forget the Xbox got no games next year. That's
facts. Exactly.
And once again, that as long as the game comes out in a good state, right? The game still can't come out all messed up, but as long as it comes out, the game is quality. We don't give a shit at the end of the day. We're still going to sit down and enjoy the experience. So I do think there was a bit of pressure on them to get this game out. It is unfortunate because look, this type of game does not have a long window. It doesn't have a large window. Cyberpunk had a large window because it was a huge, the type of game that it was. Like, people could wait to play Cyberpunk. As much as criticism it got, you see how well it ended. You see how well it ended up picking back up once the patches came, once they cleaned everything up, got the PR together, Edge runners hit, everything started popping up. You started to see everybody go back to the game. That's not Callisto Protocol is not that kind of game. This game, people can move on from very easily. I'm sorry to say it, but people can move on from a Callisto Protocol really fast. Like, High on Life comes out next month or next week. Like, there's other stuff that comes out, and people will not take a second thought. They'll wait till this game goes on sale for $30 and they'll pick it up then. So I do think, and that's just how I feel about it. Once again, y'all let me know, but I do think that they did miss a beautiful opportunity. Because I remember when they announced this game, we were all like, finally we're getting something from their original developers of Visceral, the people that made the original Dead Space. We're finally getting something. They're back in their bag, and I feel like they really fumbled this opportunity that they had.
Awesome. Well, I just want to, add on to your guys' thoughts is like, as far as like trying to beat out Dead Space, I do agree with Dirt. I think they really, really wanted to have this in players' hands before then, and that whole reverse card. It's weird because I remember everybody asking for like a Dead Space remake the past couple of years, and then Callisto Protocol comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, like you said, a week later, EA is like, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing a remake of Dead Space. And I was joking about how like was it it's called Undisputed now, but it was ESBC boxing before.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just waiting for Fight Night to finally get announced now that somebody's doing an actual boxing game. But we'll see as that gets closer.
It's about
to
competition,
release.
right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's unfortunate. Like I was kind of hyped for this game. The $70 made me pause for a minute. I'm like, you know what? I'll wait for a sale possibly or something like that. And then the reviews, and I've not been one big on holding too much weight on reviews. I mean, there are some reviewers out there I trust their feedback, but then again, it's like, well, I can live with this issue or this combat, or I'm all for mindless fun of hacking zombies and things like that. So it doesn't have to have the biggest story, but then to see the things like, oh well, it's not going to have reflections on the platform you're probably going to buy it on. I'm like, bad move. But that was a lot of devs for them to get that over that finish line. You only get one shot at a first impression. Only a handful of devs get that extra forgiveness, like your CD Projekt Reds, where it's like, okay, there's some issues with a particular platform that they released the Cyberpunk on, and people are mad about it and getting refunds, but ultimately that's a developer that people are willing to give a shot. But when it's your first game, I mean, regardless of what you did in the past, it's a new studio. Yeah, that good gracious type of thing, I don't think has much hope for them later on down the road. But let's hope it gets fixed. Love your guys' feedback on it. I had to talk about it because it just seemed odd to me that it would be like, oh, PlayStation marketing, and they send devs, which they have a vested interest. Nothing out of the ordinary as far as Xbox has sent people to help out some of their marketing deals as well. But I don't think you've ever seen it where Xbox sends out devs and it's like woefully different levels of detail on like PlayStation, where it's been hindered or gimped or something along those lines.
No, because Sony has the parity clauses. See, it only counts one way. It only counts one way. That's it.
I want to make sure I address this as well. Shout out to Gabe. He shot me a little question there. He said, couldn't that be said about the majority of games that come out? What you just said about Callisto Protocol and fans forgetting about it very fast. That is true, Gabe. That can be said about a ton of games that come out, but a ton of games that come out aren't made by the people who made an iconic game like Dead Space.
Yeah.
So this particular studio, this dev had a very special opportunity because they have an established franchise that has a great fan base. It's stuck around throughout this entire period of time without having an actual Dead Space game.
It's very rare too, PTK, that you have the original devs going head to head with their old great game.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't
get
too many of these cases. So that's where I would say it's a bit different, Gabe. But great question either way. I know you always throwing out them good questions. Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate that. So that's where I would say the difference was at. So let's move on here. I do have something else that I want to talk about that was a big deal because we talk about Game Pass a lot. You guys already know this is Shop Podcast. I don't need to get in all of that, but we talk about Game Pass a lot.
Best value in gaming? Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, it just happens to be. I don't know if any of you guys in the chat watching know that. It just happens to be the best value in gaming.
People hate when you say it. Yeah, people hate it.
Yeah, it seems to rub. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. We don't get into it. But there is something that happened as well, and I want to acknowledge first Game Pass between Game Pass, like between October and like the next 3 months, this might be the best like stretch Game Pass might have ever had. Like, I don't know. Now, once again, this might like this. That's just me off the top of my head thinking about what's going to be hitting Game Pass, and then the recent stuff that we just got about Monster Hunter Rise. All these other games coming to Game Pass day one. Like, obviously that's what we're going to talk about, but I'm going to give Game Pass kudos because they are on fire right now. And we're getting these announcements. We didn't even know anything about this. Like, we hadn't heard anything about this, but we're getting this stuff out of left field. So I want to start with you, Dirt, first, just about Monster Hunter Rise coming to Game Pass, obviously next year. That is a huge, huge deal. We didn't know that was actually happening. That's a big deal. As well as just Game Pass in general, man. Like, these next, from like probably maybe late September, early October, up until like all the way through February, March next year, they're on fire, man.
Look, let me say, I know I'm a bot, right? I know I'm a bot. I love the Xbox brand, but at the end of the day, I am a father, I'm a husband, I'm a man that has a mortgage. And when I can save money doing what I love to do, playing video games, that's a great thing for me, right? And Xbox Game Pass, some of the things, the games they're putting into service, some of the games I'm not really interested in, but some of the games I am very interested in. Plague's Tale Requiem was a game that I was definitely going to buy because I bought the first one, but when it was announced to be an Xbox Game Pass, great. Played it, loved it, finished it. Just this, like, even though 2022 for Xbox, we already mentioned, we know the spiel, right? No AAA games, what's going on? First party games, but it just didn't hurt me as much as a year like maybe 2017 did, right?
Oh,
how we had
PTSD.
no yeah, how we really had no games, no roadmap. But this year was just like, okay, we understand, but at the same time, we know what the future for Xbox Game Pass is going to be. And High on Life is a game I am very excited for. And that comes out, a week and a half from now?
Yeah.
Right in Xbox Game Pass. A game like Vampire Survivors. I never heard of the game. I see everybody talking about how fun it is, how great it is. Then I said, okay, let me download it. Just having that option to just download it and not buy it, because that's not the type of game that I would have bought. Love it. I'll be playing it like crazy. The game is fun as hell. So Xbox Game Pass is a great service, and I believe Xbox Game Pass, the Xbox Game Pass is starting to get around. Word of mouth is starting to get around about Xbox Game Pass. My coworker told me the other day that he had Xbox Game Pass. This not kid, he's a grown man. He's a casual. He plays nothing but Madden and Call of Duty. But he has Xbox Game Pass. He said, I just thought I was supposed to have it. Because somebody told him how good it is. And he said, well, if I want to play some more games, I'll just download some of these other games. He has Xbox Game Pass. So when the casuals realize how great Xbox Game Pass is, the sky's the limit for the service, bro.
Oh, absolutely. I do 100% agree with that. They haven't quite hit that yet, but we're starting to see the fruits of all of that labor, man. Like, and the variety is the best part about it, right? So a little bit of something in there for everybody. My gaming habits have completely changed due to Game Pass. I've said it 30,000 times here at the Shop Podcast that I play completely different games that I used to play. I try stuff that I never would have tried before just because Game Pass has allowed me kind of just expand my options and kind of expand my horizons. But let's throw this over to you, Pong. This is a big deal, man. Like, they're heating up, and this has been something that we've been seeing off and on, especially with the type of year like 2022. Obviously, Dirt highlighted the fact that we didn't get any huge AAAs that came out this year. I still didn't feel like I suffered, right? Like, I still didn't feel like I suffered and like it dragged. Yeah, there may have been points where I'm like, man, it would have been nice, obviously, to play Starfield and Redfall, but that delayed gratification and Game Pass, that pill was a lot easier to swallow. Like you said, if you just compare it to something like 2017.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Overall, again, if you're one of those people that only plays AAA games, because that's how you judge your gaming is by the AAA games you play, sure. Then I gotta, I can't tell you that you're wrong because that's just who you are as a person. Now, I think some of your frauds are out here saying that that's all that people should be playing and that you can't have fun with Vampire Survivors because, oh my God, that's a mobile NES game and there's no way that doesn't count. Like, you can't have fun. Like, that's wrong. Like, but overall, Game Pass, has brought so much this year, especially the second half of the year. And of course, it's all going to be relative to what you play. Again, me as a grazer, I am never going to be without a game to play, ever. There is something every week that drops into Game Pass that I go, damn, I'm going to try that out. Now, whether I put an hour into it or whether I put 40 hours into it, doesn't matter. I still have an enjoyable time. I have an experience one way or the other. I can say the game was bad, didn't like it, uninstalled it. That's cool. But there's always something new for me to try. Again, for the people out there that are very specific in their gaming, hey, listen, I can't help you with that. That's your enjoyment. That's your like. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But overall this year, Game Pass has delivered time and time again. You look at Persona 5 coming into Game Pass, a gigantic JRPG that now has new fans, which we always talked about would happen if Atlas, if Square Enix, if some of these, Eastern publishers and devs would start putting their games into Xbox. You start developing an actual fan base here, and that's what it takes. You have to cultivate one. It doesn't just happen overnight because you put your games on everywhere but the Xbox. You can't expect Xbox fans to be like, yeah, I love that game when they don't even have a chance to play it. That's what's happening now. So you get games like that. Then you talk about the ending to this year as well. This month came out of the blue, Lego Star Wars, Skywalker Edition. Listen, all that stuff. Hot Wheels unfortunately got pulled. Like, we don't know when that's dropping, but the Hot Wheels Game of the Year Edition was supposed to be the first half of December, but they said, oops, that's not happening. We'll let you know. That, we're missing Warhammer Dark Tide on console. But overall, the quality, the diverse lineup of Game Pass has really shined this year without even, again, I can sit here and say, well, Persona 5 is a giant AAA game, but a lot of people are going to disagree with me. But even if you look at it and say, well, there wasn't a lot of AAA stuff, like a lot of like what we would say household name games, there's just been a lot of quality games coming into Game Pass overall this year that has kept kind of that momentum going. Maybe not the same as it was when we were getting like the, even though it didn't do well, but like, you got like Outriders was a big deal when it showed up and that kind of stuff. Listen, it's not always going to be that way, but they haven't stopped delivering. Not once. And Microsoft and Xbox haven't stopped delivering. There's been a little slowdown here or there. That's going to happen too. But overall, year has been special for Game Pass. And next year, when you start throwing in the AAA games on top of what we already know, again, the announcement of Monster Hunter Rise coming. People
That's huge.
That's huge. You don't understand. Like, this has only been on Switch and PC. Hasn't come to PlayStation yet. The fact that it's going to be on Game Pass day and date when it launches on the two other consoles, that is gigantic. Monster Hunter is a big IP the world
Didn't it
over.
sell like 10, 12 million last one? Something like that?
The last one, it might be over almost 20.
Yeah, it might be over 20,
Monster Hunter World, they dropped a gigantic bag at Capcom for this one. Like, this is one of probably the more expensive Game Pass buys that they've done. But the fact that Capcom believes in it says a lot. And to have a publisher like Capcom willing to even cut a deal, even if the bag is considerable, they're giving up a lot of sales. That even for them to do that, that means a lot. That means Capcom has belief in the Game Pass system. And that's going to say a lot going forward. This is all that work that Phil and Sarah have been doing over in the East finally paying off that we're seeing. But I'm not even talking about just about that. Once those first-party games start dropping, we're getting Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition out the gates in January. We're getting Monster Hunter Rise out the gates in January. Then hopefully we'll see Dark Tide, Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide come at some point early next year as well. Then you're talking about an Atomic Heart sitting in there, which could be phenomenal. You're talking about then all of a sudden Redfall's dropping in there. Oh, my God. You're talking about Stalker 2 being at some point next year, hopefully. Again, we're not going to hold our breath for that one. Let the devs work when they can work, whatever. But we're going to see this trend where then it is going to be the household name starting to drop in there consistently. Then you got a Forza Motorsport, you got a Starfield, you got the big first party titles coming in there. Listen, it's going to be gigantic in 2023. That Avalanche that I talked about a long time ago on We Bleed Green,
Avalanche,
a long time ago. It's starting next year for sure. There is no stopping this. This is it.
So
we always bring that up too, Pong.
I know you guys do. I appreciate it.
Just for reference, shout out to chat. Chat, as always, they got the Google on deck. Monster Hunter World, 27.2 million copies.
Oh,
so just
boy.
to be,
yeah.
Just
yeah,
to
yeah.
be, and then they threw out a couple other games that are going to be as well. They're not first party games, but they're going to hit Game Pass. Awesome. You got Wulong Fallen Dynasty. That's obviously Game Pass. You got Lies of P, Game Pass as well, too. So you got a lot of other games.
Damn.
Man, you want to talk about heaping helping Thanksgiving every month next year for sure. I'm trying to tell you, man. So Flintlock, we got all these other games. Say, they're just chat just going crazy. There's a bunch of games hitting Game Pass. So let me throw this over to you, Fuzz. Once again, we talk about Game Pass all the time on this show.
Yeah,
we talk all the time just to make sure people are aware of like the not just the value, but like what the type of market disruption this actually is giving like this industry. They've never seen anything like it, and at the value that it's currently out, it's only getting better. You know, we got the family pass coming at some point too.
yeah.
That only makes that even better. It takes it to another level. But where you at on like Monster Hunter Rise? Once again, that's a big deal because the Monster Hunter, people don't talk about it. I know a lot of times over here in the States, it probably people don't know the impact, but that is a gigantic game. And Pong is right. They went to Capcom and dropped a bag to get this in Game Pass. This might be one of their larger deals.
Well, I'll put to you this way. One of the things that I loved about the first division is that they actually borrowed some of the elements as far as like gear inserts and things like that from Monster Hunter, as far as that whole franchise. So some of the things that I like the most about the division are already part or the DNA of Monster Hunter World, or Monster Hunter in general. So when Monster Hunter World came out, it was one of those that I think I won on like Moochie Crack.
I bought it. I have the game
a while back ago, but played it for a bit, loved it. The only drawback is I think by the time I got into it, a lot of people had already played it, leveled up their characters, and here I am going through the grind where it took me a while to kind of get things going. And then I think it eventually came to Game Pass, and I think we hopped into that for a bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
And it was a nice alternative to the division for a good bit. And then I think because some of the monsters that were for like the weekly updates or whatever were a little bit over leveled for us from the grinding that we did in comparison, I think we kind of let go or we moved to back to Destiny or something like that. But having this new one in there, I think the biggest thing is it gives people that may never have tried the series prior that opportunity to test it out, see if they like it. And you're going to have a lot more people, actively on your friends list playing that game, or at least giving it a try. And then you'll have the ones that would have bought it day one anyway, that either still bought it day one or doing their normal grind, getting their gear leveled up and everything. And they'll kind of usher you through it and stuff like that. So it's awesome to see stuff like that, where these new games come into the platform, go in there day and date, or just big titles that aren't necessarily the biggest on the Xbox platform making their appearance in there, and people give them a try and get hooked to them. So it's awesome to see. Looking forward to giving this one a try when it drops into Game Pass. Like there's so many games that keep on going into Game Pass. Like Insurgency is one of my favorite games, and it's in there now as well. And there's just so many, like co-op or multiplayer style games like that, where it's like, it's like a perfect fit. So that's all I got.
It's a huge deal. Shout out to Steel Rain. What's up, Brody? See you, bro. Just jumped in here.
What up, brother?
How you doing, bro? So shout out to Steel Rain, man, Mr. Living Split Screen, other half. But yeah, man, I'm 100% like I'm ecstatic right now, man. Like Game Pass is on fire. I love where it's at. I love where it's going. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We got so much to look forward to. The ABK deal is not done yet. So once that deal hits, I know a lot of people talk about Call of Duty, but everything else is going to Game Pass. Like they can argue about Call of Duty all day, but everything else non-Call of Duty is probably good, has a good chance of hitting Game Pass day and date. So I have look, Diablo 4 is on my like must-have list next year, must play. And I definitely want that to hit Game Pass. I'm hoping it does, but we'll see how fast this deal actually gets done. But yeah, I think we got a little bit of time, so we might be able to take another question or two. I know way earlier in chat. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody dropped a question. We got a little bit of time left here. Let me just find it real quick. Just bear with me here. Where is it at? Where is it at? What do you do with it? Oh, here it is. It was,
I was
yeah.
going to say, Mr. Joanna Dark, with about the question about Quake.
Yeah. So shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark as a $4.99 super chat. Appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much. He said, hello to the entire panel. If Quake made a comeback, would you like a remake of Quake 2 or a new entry in the series? Next Doom third-person horror game. Nice, nice. So I guess we could just rapid fire this dirt if you want to take a shot at that question.
Never played a Quake game in my life. But since I'm a bot, I would love a Quake game since that first one. Doom, yes, I can't wait for the next Doom. You know what? When did Doom Eternal come out? The 2019 or 2020?
Let me check.
2020.
It was 2020?
Yeah, I believe it was 2020. Isn't it around times? Pretty soon, probably next year for them to at least announce their next game. Shouldn't it? I don't know.
It might be close. I mean, I don't know what they're doing exactly. Pong, I don't know if you any rumbling, anything.
Yeah. The rumor is the Quake reboot. Yeah.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense.
Quake Doom was 2020, by the way, March 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Quake is supposedly what they're working on. Quake is the original. That with Unreal Tournament were the two original competitive shooters in that space, right? Talking about quick twitch, some of the fastest. Again, you go back and watch competitive play of either one of those games.
It's insane,
ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And Quake, they still have a Quake Con, for God's sakes. They still have a con named after Quake. So, yeah, it's one of the pillars, right? You got to bring it back at some point. Who better to do it than id, obviously? Have the original people come back. I said from the beginning, Carmack, when John Carmack, who was one of the original creators of Quake, and obviously a big part of what that was, what that became, he left the industry. But when Microsoft bought ZeniMax, he actually was on Twitter like right away saying, I wouldn't mind coming back and working on one of my old IP. It would be amazing to see Carmack come back. One of the smartest dudes you will ever meet. The dude is ridiculous. But yeah, I think Quake deserves it, and I think it would be great. I think it still has a place nowadays. Is it going to hit like it used to? Maybe not, but depending on what they do with it, if they make it different enough from everything, that classic style quick twitch shooter might interest a younger generation nowadays, a highly competitive type of crowd that really wants it. And I think it would be cool to see it come back. So yeah. I think that's what they're working on.
Because it's all about that movement in Quake and those Unreal games. It was all about your movement, like you said, quick twitch. Because a lot of that the Call of Duty Warzone stuff, a lot of players enjoy that. So if like you said, if they can make it different enough, but still allow that quick twitch play, there might be a group of people that enjoy that. They might be able to build get the younger fan base on that. Because like you said, they haven't experienced it at all. So it'll be brand new to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess we'll take another question or two before we get on up out of here. Let me see if there's anything else. In chat, you can throw us another question or two before we wrap this up. It looks like Gabe said newest Last of Us 2 or just Last of Us HBO Max trailer. Anyone seen it? I didn't get to see the trailer. I did see the ad, but I didn't watch the trailer yet. I had high expectations. The first everything I've saw for it so far has looked amazing. The casting was awesome, bro. Yeah, the casting was on point, spot on as far as the casting. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the trailer yet, but everything the vibe I'm getting from everything feels good. It feels good. It feels like Last of Us, and that's all it essentially that we wanted. But anybody else who've actually seen the trailer, go ahead.
It looks amazing. I'm a fan of the franchise. It definitely has the look and the feel of The Last of Us 1. It looks incredible, man. It looks incredible. I actually like that they like the voice actress and mocap actress Ashley Johnson that for Ellie. I believe she's playing Ellie mom or some type of character in the show, which is cool. I was actually watching the old Jean-Claude Van Damme movie the other day called Lionheart. She was the little girl.
Oh, yeah.
She was the niece of Jean-Claude. I was like,
it's crazy.
I was like, damn, that girl looked familiar. And I had to go on IMDb. I said, oh, snap, that's Ellie. She was a little kid. But, yeah, I think the trailer looks amazing. I'm going to be glued to the TV, man. I'm loving all of the video game shows and movies and all the love they're getting. Mario
Quiet as
Brothers,
kept.
Sonic.
That could come
Yeah,
along and take over Marvel's trap. Marvel thought they had listen, I'm being think about it, Dirk. Think about it. We had this huge comic book Marvel renaissance. We had this huge, we're kind of getting maybe DC's, we don't know what they're doing, but hopefully they can get on the ball. And we had this long period of time where we had this Marvel renaissance. It seems like we're having this renaissance now for video game adaptations for movies. You see what Super Mario Brothers looking like. That's looking like a $1 billion movie, easy at the box office. And you got all these other you got the Halo, and you got
Uncharted movie,
Uncharted.
Streets of Rage has even got something in the works.
You got Gears coming. Netflix is doing Gears like this. You got Edge Runners, which did huge. That was huge for Cyberpunk, and that's an anime. You got more animated video game adaptations coming. Quiet as kept. We might be moving to that in that direction where we're starting to see this. Like we start to get 4 or 5 of these a year.
Yeah. I'm loving it, bro. I'm loving it. As a gamer, I know we all love it because, man, they're starting to appreciate what we've loved for years,
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. I think it's great, man. I think it's great. As long as they're done well, we don't want a Mortal Kombat Annihilation or we don't want any of that crap. But
hey, that's Pong's favorite movie, man.
Oh, is it? How about that?
No,
Come on,
no. I still like the cheesy original. I still like the cheesy
original. Original. I love the original, but that part.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh God, disgusting. But no, I don't know. Fuzz, did you get in on?
I haven't seen the trailer, but it's one of those I definitely want to check out when the thing releases. It's much like what Dirt was saying. I like the fact that we're now seeing this, better transition from games to movies to games and stuff. Like unlike before, where it was like if it was a video game and it was turned into a movie, cheesiness aside with the Mortal Kombat, it just didn't pan out. Like looking at the original Mario Brothers, yes, it was funny, hilarious, blah blah blah. It was more comical type of thing, but it wasn't quite the same type of deal. Kind of like what you see now with Sonic and even the new Mario Brothers movie. Although, I guess people will get past the voice, not being, or I guess what they expected from Mario. But aside from that, like just in general, things like The Last of Us, the game itself is like a movie. So the fact that we're now actually finally getting that in comparison, it's great to see that's getting that spotlight now, and hopefully we'll see more of those here in the future. I'm definitely looking forward to what they'll do with Gears. Still kind of not perturbed, but like wondering what the whole Gran Turismo thing is going to be. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's awesome to see that we're getting a lot more of these shows and movies.
Awesome. I agree 100%. And I think this is the new wave. I think that's Pong. I know you didn't coin this term, but you damn sure brought it up here on the show. Transmedia. Remember, you talked about it. So this might be that new transmedia wave we talked about with video games turning into movies and vice versa, right?
For sure. This is the value of that IP. This is how Embracer Group is going about their business to, gobble up as much of this transmedia as they can do, because you do see the value. You got Fallout finally coming as well in a series. I mean, all this stuff that they've been sitting on for years. We're to that point now where the popularity of geekdom has finally started to peak, right? We've finally taken our rightful place as the head of the entertainment world. And that's the influence that it brings, that the things like The Witcher can draw in people who haven't even played the Witcher game before, just from a fantasy type style, right? Post-apocalyptic stuff like The Last of Us with a very adult, serious tone to it. Not what people have always generalized for decades video games being, but showing the seriousness that these games now can have. Sure, we still like our fun. Sure, absolutely, the action stuff is amazing, but we can have these adult type themed games as well that can translate into the same type of movie or show. So The Last of Us is going to definitely do well. The Last of Us 1, to me, there is only one to me. So I just, again, there is no number 2. But The Last of Us to me is a GOAT. It's a top 10, top 15 game all time for me. It deserves this. I'm not keen on the Ellie casting at all. But I think overall they're going to do a fantastic job with this. I watched the trailer; it looks ridiculously good. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of this going forward. This is the new hot thing right now, which isn't always good. When something burns hot, it can burn out very fast, as we all know. I don't want to see that happen, but right now, yeah, we got to kind of eat while the eating's good, and that's what everybody else is thinking when it comes to these types of shows that are transmedia from video games to the big screen or to the small screen. So this is exciting times for all of us that are big into geekdom, that's for sure. So we just got to keep crossing our fingers that we get the good stuff and that we don't get the bad stuff. So again, we'll see, but right now it looks like everything's on the up and up.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show, man. It has been an amazing show with an amazing guest. You guys came out and drove. Shout out to everybody who came to see Dirt as well too. I know there was a bunch of people that go to his podcast that came over and joined us today. If it was your first time here and you enjoyed the show, we do this every single week. So come back, see us again next week and a week after that as well too. We do it same time, same place here, and I'll get into that after we kind of give our outro. But I just want to say appreciate you, Dirt, for coming through, blessing us here, bro. It's always a good time. You are OG. Me and you've been talking. We've been, buddies on Twitter for years. You've always supported the show. I've always supported what you got going on. So much blessings, support, love, everybody over there at WBG, all your compatriots and everybody. But I appreciate you hanging out with us, taking a little bit of time in your evening on Saturday, bro. But let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Thank you again, man, for having me. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I always enjoy being on the panel with Pong, Fuzzy, and yourself. It's always fun, man. So check out my channel. Can I put it in the chat or is it?
Yeah, you can put it in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, check out my channel if you wasn't here at the beginning of the show. The Griggity, I have a podcast on Monday evenings called WBZ Xbox Podcast. We have a lot of fun. We talk a lot of trash. So stop by, say what's up. I do my normal little videos. And Friday, I'm also on another podcast with the homie Sean786 on his channel called TTS Xbox Podcast. Of course, that means talk that shit. The Xbox Podcast. So just come check it out, man. We have a lot of fun. I'm about to put the link in the description. So yeah, just stop by.
Awesome. And that link is already in the description as well.
It is?
Yeah, okay, it's already in the description. All the socials are down there. So once again, chat, you guys know what we do. We show the proper love and support here for all our guests to come out and take time to, entertain us and give us good quality topics and hang out with us and spend their time. So go show him love. Go follow him on Twitter. All of that's down below. And once again, appreciate you, Dirt, for hanging out with us as well, bro. Spending a couple hours of your evening, just hanging out and kicking it, bro. Anytime. It's always open, bro. You already know. So thank you so much, man. Let me go and throw this over to my buddies here, my two right-hand men. We'll start with you, Pong. Always good, bro. It's another amazing show in the books, bro. But let everybody know what you got cooking up for the next week or so.
Absolutely. Great show. Again, always a pleasure to have Dirt on and great to talk to you, sir. Again, love your perspective, love what you bring, love what you guys do over at We Believe Green. And of course, TTS with the one and only Sean. You got to go check them out. Definitely go do so. Again, one of my favorite shows, one of the first shows I ever found jumping into this community. So I go way back with them. Again, work schedule being what it is now, I have a hard time catching you guys, but I'm always trying to jump in and at least catch portions of the show, and I go back and listen to as much as I can because I love it. I just love smiling and laughing with you guys because you guys are great, man. Again, I just love it. So, but yeah, PTK, Fuzzy, always, you know what it is on Saturday nights. We get down to business. We have great discussions here. Great topics tonight, brothers. Had a great time. Chat, you guys were amazing. Again, some new faces in there, of course, familiar if you're over on the WBG side. Thank you all for dropping in here, whether you're a regular or whether you just dropped in here because Dirt was here. Appreciate every single one of you. Love and respect to always the people that are hanging out in chat. That's where I started, and these shows are nothing without you. Again, it's just an empty room if you guys aren't here. It's just Xbox Live and us talking. So thank you all for joining us, whether you're listening now or later. Love you all. Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter. You guys all know the drill there. Tuesdays, whether I can show up for Xbox Factor anymore, doesn't matter. It's Mr. Boomstick. It's Double Barrel Gaming. It's all good things green on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. He's got a full panel now, no matter what, so be there. And then Thursday is going to be a special PM in the PM because we are going to be live streaming the Game Awards for Thursday night. Yes, the Game Awards are on. It's going to be an interesting show, depending on who you are listening to. You know, Xbox may or may not show up. Sony may or may not show up, but you know we're still going to get amazing world premieres from the third parties, no matter who's there. So it's going to be a fun time. So Mav, I, and some, whoever the Fun Speculation family can join us. We're going to be live streaming that Thursday night, so be there. I'm sure we're going to go earlier than we normally do because they do start exactly when we normally go, which is 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. So keep your eyes and ears open. I'm sure Mav will be posting about it. I'll get it out there as well. That's going to be Thursday night. Friday night, right back on Fun Speculations channel for Xbox Ultimate. We had great topics last night. We actually didn't go left too much last night. So Fuzzy can attest to this. We actually stayed on course. We had some Manscaped jokes going on and stuff, of course. But overall, we stayed the course last night. But we have a fun time. We still laugh. We still talk topics. So be there every Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time is the new time, permanent now. And then, of course, next Saturday, it's Living Split Screen. My brother from another Steel Rain and I, Mission 1K every Saturday morning. When we, God willing, we've had to take some time off, but we will be back next week. 3+ hours, normally a 4-hour show now. Me and him, the chat, we get everybody involved. We talk the good talk over there. Him and I have a great time. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Living Split Screen every Saturday morning. Split Screen is all one word. And then keep your ears and eyes open. I got a special additional show next week that's going to be a big one. So wait for that. I'll be announcing that as soon as the host announces it, but it is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited. So you know what? It's the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great night, everybody. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Let's go ahead and throw this over to Fuzz before we wrap the show up completely. Fuzz, another great show in the bag, brother. Yeah. Minus the Xbox issues you've been having, but let everybody know where they could find you and keep up with you, brother.
Oh, just want to say it was awesome being on here with you guys. Always awesome when we have Dirt Griggity on here with us. Always love hearing your takes on things. So glad you decided to join us tonight. And for everybody in the chat, thank you for interacting with us and catching us live. And even those that'll catch us on replay, thank you so much for taking your time. For anybody that wants to hear my endless ramblings on anything gamer related or some of my rants when games or other hardware break, just follow me on Twitter and I guess Mastodon and Hive whenever they get back online at @Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Lunch Break Special at noon on Mondays on Double Barrel Gaming. Just follow Mr. Boomstick. It's his afternoon show on Monday. Go into the news for the week. Later that evening, you can catch me on FSP, Fun Speculation Podcast, on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's on Monday evening. You can also find me on Double Barrel Gaming for Breakfast with Boom at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday mornings. And then later that evening on Fun Speculations channel for Xbox Ultimate with Pong, like he was saying. We definitely go left a few times, just not last week, but yeah, the what do you call them? The jokes as far as for like Manscaped, it's definitely worth checking out. And then catch us live here next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Arizona time, right here on the Shop Podcast. Look forward to seeing you guys then.
Man, and then once again, your host here is PTK Blam. Across the board, all of that information is down in the description. Xbox Live, PTK Blam, Hive, once they get back up and running, as well as Twitter. That's the primary platform you can find all of the information on regarding the show and what we got going on, the guest poll of the week, all of that good stuff. Once again, chat, you guys are fucking amazing every single week. You guys are the reason why we come and do this, so appreciate the support. If you're here for your first time, once again, subscribe. All the people in the future, shout out to you listening. The audio version of the show will be up on anchor.fm. You'll see that. All of that stuff is in the link description. That'll be up tomorrow morning. So all my audio listeners, you guys enjoy that tomorrow. But we are out of here. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. Another great, awesome guest. But enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great night. Peace out, everybody.
Later.
Peace out.